Team Progressive is founded on the principle that every member of the Trinidad and Tobago football community deserves a voice. We pledge to be inclusive, listening to the concerns and aspirations of our members at all levels. The success of our football association hinges on the collective strength of our diverse membership, and we will champion the interests of all teams, players, coaches, and supporters alike. Membership first approach. As we enter this crucial period for Trinidad and Tobago football, Team Progressive is poised to be the catalyst for positive change. We believe that our executive slate, with its wealth of experience, dedication, and vision, is best positioned to steer the TTFA towards a future marked by excellence, integrity, and success. Kieron Edwards, Team Progressive. Our mission is clear: to rebuild, to inspire, and to propel Trinidad and Tobago's football to new heights. We invite the football community to join us in this transformative journey, where unity and progress go hand in hand.
Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on NCBN TT. I'm Steve David and I'm your host. Today we talk TTFA presidential election, which is going to happen in 6-7 days. And I have joining me in the set today one of the candidates for the election, Kieron Edwards. Welcome to the set, Kieron.
A pleasure to be here again, Steve.
How you feel? You're on the stretch to home. How you feel going home?
I'm confident. Continue to work. I'm not taking anything for granted. Continue to work. Continue to liaise with the membership. We had our stakeholders meeting yesterday, so we continue to work until the election and hope that the members give us the confidence to lead.
Any new items that or things that you wanted to express to the people who are going to do the voting?
Yeah, it's one of we want inclusion into football. We would have had the stakeholders meeting May 24 hours ago, and we got a lot of insight from stakeholders, former players, administrators, referees. So the insight, we want to ensure that we have this membership driven approach, and we asking the members to buy in. We'll have to make sacrifices for Trinidad and Tobago football. The players, the administrators, even working longer hours, being more dedicated to the sport to ensure that we rebuild, as we mentioned in our manifesto, to rebuild and inspire a new generation of football in Trinidad and Tobago.
Kieron, what have you learned in this period that you decided to throw your hat in the ring and run for president along the way? Have you learned anything along the way, or pick up any ideas that if you were going to do this again, is something you're going to think about?
Yeah, I think because I knew I wanted to contest the election, the presidency, some time ago, before it was even announced by the normalization committee that we had a date. I think if I had to do it again, I would have gone to all the members a bit earlier. I would have been engaged with all the members for some time, but in terms of the ideas, the innovative ways that the members have been giving information on various points, I would have done that a bit sooner, so that our manifesto could have been presented a bit sooner. But I think in terms of the process, the journey, I've realized that the membership is an intelligent one, a very intelligent one. I think persons are a bit scared of the TTFA membership throughout the years. I think executives would have been scared of the TTFA membership throughout the years because of the intelligence, because of their opinions. But I think if you embrace those qualities in the members, I think you'll realize that it's a bit easier to lead the TTFA, and our views are not that different. the players, the administrators, the coaches, they all want the best for football. And they want to see Trinidad and Tobago administrators do well. So I think it's been a learning experience for me. I think it's one that I really welcome, and I appreciate the period so far in the campaign.
So you have such a strong slate, and I think just to remind some of the viewers and some of the people that is on your wagon riding this thing home, because I mean this is slate versus slate, not president versus president and individual people. Yeah. So you want to kind of run through and give the viewers another idea of how strong your slate is and who those people are?
Yeah, so our slate is comprised with Colin Murray as the first vice president. I would have mentioned before numerous times. Trinidad and Tobago knows Colin Murray. He's a face of not just football but cricket and sports as a commentator. He has spent many years in terms of senior leadership in Carib, one of the leading sponsors throughout the years when it comes to Trinidad and Tobago football. So having Colin there it's for me it's a bit comforting to have somebody to lean on in Mr. Murray. We have Mr. Osman Dongna, the ultimate statesman when it comes to football. Former principal, somebody, a no-nonsense person, but very warm and welcoming. You could call Mr. Dongna, and surprisingly, you could call Mr. Dongna anytime and get him. For someone that mature, that in terms of him being accessible, I think that's been comforting to me.
He's a referee as well,
right? He's a former, top referee in Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
One of the youngest FIFA officials back in the day, youngest being at about 32, 33, somewhere there, being on the FIFA panel when all the rest would have been in the 40s or 50s. So he has a wealth of knowledge and understands the landscape of both FIFA and CONCACAF as an official and administrator, being a match assessor as well. So having him there, it's been welcoming for me. We also have Mr. Jameson Rings, a bit younger, but like me, coming up in administration from early, understands the new way of things. He understands technology, he understands the corporate world, working with BP, understanding grassroots, bringing his expertise in life to the sport of football. Former player, a grassroots team in terms of Guaya United, manager of Guaya United. I understand where he comes from personally, because I was the manager of Malabar FC. Similar kind of grassroots team, wanting to excel beyond the expectations of the community and persons. They would have played in Super League, so too Malabar FC. We'd have had big rivalries when we played against each other, going to Guaya, maxi loads of persons from Malabar going to Guaya to play games. So we have that relationship. We also have a professional relationship. We would have fought an election against each other in the Super League. But that being said, we never allowed the whole campaign to get anywhere. So we stayed in communication. We have a good relationship. He's part of what we call the new school of Trinidad and Tobago football. So I have a lot of respect for him. So it's also comforting to have someone around your same age that you could have that dialogue with. And Jameson really brings that to the team. And then we have Mr. Andrew Bodo and Alan Logan, both working in protective services. We have two accountants in Alicia Austin and Ryan Nunes, chartered accountants. Ryan Nunes they have their own auditing firm. So it's important that we have those persons on board, understanding the issues of Trinidad and Tobago football, understanding the reason of the normalization committee came here. So it was important for us to have those persons on board with us. We have Shelton Williams from Tobago, understanding the disconnect between Trinidad and Tobago for many years. Persons would talk of that disconnect. I would have been in the trenches with the TFA in terms of having their league restarted after the pandemic, understanding the struggles that they face, and really being in the trenches to ensure that their league is one of the best zonal leagues run currently. They are active throughout the year when it comes to football on the island. So it's important that we had those persons on board. We have those persons on board with Team Progressive that will lend to various aspects of the executive and the Trinidad and Tobago landscape, football landscape.
No, it sounds as this election going to be a North versus South kind of. Is most of your people from the Southland, or is it throughout the country?
I would say it's throughout. Throughout, because I'm from Central. We have Jameson South. We have persons in the North. We have persons in Tobago. So we came with a mix of persons, mix of expertise, but translating those expertise to the landscape of football.
Did you ever give any attention or consideration to what you're coming up against, and if so, what are those?
I don't look at it as what we're coming up against. I would have put my hat in the ring, in terms, put up my hand and say I'm willing to lead, putting together a team, putting together a slate. Mr. Worf would have done the same, and he's going about his process. I think the members have been welcoming to me. If it's, I'll be shocked if I do not win, but I'm confident and I'm humbled in terms of the trust that the membership has been putting in me. But in terms of after the election, it's one TTFA. We have to understand that.
Right.
And there are members on Mr. Worf's slate that form part of the membership, and we have to understand it's one TTFA. We all have to, because we have a couple of months before we hope to intend, or we intend to qualify for a World Cup, and it has to be all hands on deck at that point. So the major thing is not against, but to understand this is a process. We're in a democratic process in terms of electing a new executive, and we have to understand that. We have to understand that after the 13th, we all work together for the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago football.
But it's we here to win. It's like professional. I'm a baller. So when coming to this kind of stuff, we study our opponent, or we look for the weaknesses or the strengths, and try to eliminate the strength, whatever we do, but we kind of scope them out and see how we can attack them. That wasn't part of your slate action at all.
Of course, we former players, well, we don't take the field to draw a match or to lose. We want to win.
Right.
And I think we'll have looked at the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago and understand that, all right, these are the requirements for us to win. While I was putting together the slate, it was important for me to have a person strong in the constitution, person strong in terms of HR, person strong in terms of administration, person strong in accounting, putting together that team. Not just having professionals, but having professionals that could be able to translate their expertise to the sport. I think when you look at the other slate, you'll see professionals there, but there's no real translation to the sport. I think that is where you'll see the strength of Team Progressive versus any other slate. And it's important for me. So yes, I would have strategized. I am a coach as well currently. So tactics is important, understanding your opponent, knowing where, as you said, knowing where their weaknesses are and being able to exploit it, but knowing where their strengths are and being able to minimize the exploits on your side.
So in your preparation, you think you have support throughout the country, or you have more support in one location than the other, or it's just total support?
I think it's total support across the board. So the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association membership is broken up in really 4 parts. So there's the Tier 1, there's Tier 2, there's zones, and then there's the other. So the others would be referees, women football, beach soccer, futsal, coaches association, veterans. Those would be the others. So when you look at it across the board, my support has been throughout. I'm part of the Tier 1 structure. I'm part of the zonal structure. The others have given me support. They are members. Mr. Downer is the president of the Referees Association. We have Alan Logan, a zonal president. We have Shelton Williams being a tier 1, a tier 2 club. We have Ryan Nunes and Andrew Boudou being the chairman of Foley's tier 1 club, and Ryan Nunes being the owner of AC Port of Spain, a tier 1 club. They are the 2 top clubs in the country currently, fighting for first and second in the TTPFL. So we have a wide mix across the board. So there isn't an issue to say, well, we are top heavy, only looking for tier 1 and tier 2 votes because we are looking for support from only the Premier League. But we are there through the zones, through the grassroots process. We are there through the membership, through referees, understanding the plights of women football, having Alicia Austin, whose daughter plays or would have played in the Wolf League, understanding the dynamics of women's football and the cries of a parent. Because we look at sometimes just the players when it comes to women's football, but it's difficult for parents to motivate their kids when the kids are not seeing a career in women's football. So we understand those plights, and I think because of it and because of the widespread within our team, we are having a really good campaign thus far.
Just in case I wanted to run for president one day, did you sit down and be strategic on how you do this, or did you just throw caution to the wind and say, I'm going, and as I go, I'm going to figure it out?
I think when I started the process in terms of saying I wanted to run, I would have sat down and been very strategic in terms of my actions and very deliberate in certain actions as well. But before that, in terms of engagement with the membership, it would have been just natural, understanding that we had a serious issue with the normalization committee. No one was really taking up the mantle of engaging the normalization committee in the right way, ensuring, because you would have heard in the background, no communication, lack of communication, no respect being shown to the membership, there's no standing committees, all the standing committees being suspended. There's no accountability by our national teams to anyone outside of the normalization committee, knowing that the normalization committee strength was not the game. Understanding that the normalization committee period was mandated by FIFA and there would be an end date. Then what with our beautiful game in Trinidad and Tobago, the #1 sport in Trinidad and Tobago. So I saw the void in terms of that level of leadership. Persons would have said, hey, the membership is not united, they are not united, they're not together. Why are you going to try to work with them and lead and try to lead some sort of organization and structure to ensure that we get information from the normalization committee? And I told them, I don't look at it as saying the membership really disjointed. We didn't have a real leader for some time, but I believe that the membership is an intelligent and opinionated one. And because they are opinionated or intelligent in terms of the action, almost all members are engaged with the constitution and what should be happening. I told persons allow you to lead if they respect you, if they believe, they trust you, and they believe that the decisions you make are in the best interest of the sport. So I saw that and I knew that from early. So in terms of ensuring whatever I do, it's with a level of integrity, a level of openness, and ensuring that that trust factor was built between myself and the membership, even before deciding to run. So when I decided to run, it was easy in terms of now strategically setting up, ensuring that members, knowing the members that were willing to be part of a movement to rebuild Trinidad and Tobago football.
Okay.
Private providers. Private providers, whether they be for-profit or philanthropic, want to be acknowledged for providing a service and contribution to football. Anyone wishing to help grow the game should be encouraged to do so, but should also operate within the framework of the game.
So we're on the final stretch to the big day. And any special means for that day, or any special events happening going down that way?
No. Even when I was a player, I had no real rituals. But I do feel that level of I want to say the butterflies, the anxious, being a bit anxious, knowing the importance of the moment, knowing the importance of the new executive on the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago, seeing my opponents and understanding that I really need to be successful to transform Trinidad and Tobago football in the right way. So there's that level of nervousness there, but I think it's good for you to go through that. Even when I was a player, the little butterflies there before a big game was good for me to be able to get there. I believe when we get to the home of football on the morning of the 13th, you will take that breath, you'll take a sip of water, and you'll free up a bit in terms of that butterflies. But we do understand it's an election. It's done via secret ballot. As much as the members have been giving you that confidence that they'll vote for you, you still have to wait for the day.
Right.
As they say, football is played on the day. Right. The election is also we won on that day.
Right. Like, I'm sure you can't help but think about things that you want to do or put in place, or things that you see that's wrong in your eye that you might want to correct, and all that kind of stuff. Anything you want to share with me? Yeah.
So there are two major things that I want to implement that is not really there in the landscape. One is there that needs fixing, and one is not there. There's not even a thought for persons to put it in the landscape of Trinidad and Tobago football, which is really forming that science, that sports science unit. It's important for us to understand the strengths of sports science on the development of footballers, and not just the young players. So we are looking at our national senior team going into that game against Canada. I don't know how much of the sports science in terms of the mental side of the game we dealt with that team. Be going into that major game. We would have seen Levi not taking the first two opportunities. Tremendous leadership qualities by him to stand up and take responsibility for that. I think our national team is in a good place when persons like Levi could put up his hand. But we know we have games coming up, and we have to ensure that the moment of that qualifications for the Copa, although not qualifying, is not used in a negative way, or players do not view it in a negative way, and we get the best out of it. It was a moment where we played against a team, high intensity, big moment, a lot on the line, wasn't successful, had moments in terms of what ifs. We have to ensure that we have a proper sports science team there to help those guys. Some of the local players never had that opportunity to experience something like that. Levi's playing in Champions League, and so he understands those moments. I'm sure his club would have things put in place when they have disappointments. How do they rebound? What do they do? I'm not too sure if we have that set up within our national team. So it's important for us to put that sports science unit together. In terms of development for our kids, it's critical in terms of the other facets of development. So when we look at the secondary schools league, when we look at academies or clubs, we must understand that sports science unit must be able to go to the lengths and breadths of Trinidad and Tobago and developing players wherever there's shortfalls. And it's important for me to have that unit set up. We have the home of football, which I told persons, it's a great idea to have that home of football there. How we utilize it, it's really where the issue lies. So it's important for me to say, all right, we go in there, we see the home of football, we get a space within the home of football and set up our sports science unit. There's players that may be injured through the region, and it must be a leading sports science unit, not just for Trinidad and Tobago, not just for football, but for all sports. When we talk about recovery, we have some of the leaders in terms of the doctors for recovery in Trinidad and Tobago. Persons get injured and come to Trinidad to do their surgery. We can offer now accommodation in the home of football. Let the FAs through the region, let other sporting disciplines through the region bring their athletes, injured athletes to Trinidad to do their recoveries, to do their surgery, bring in revenue to the TTFA. So it's important for us to set up that sports science unit on many facets of Trinidad and Tobago football. We're talking about the level of technology with AI, sports analytics. We need to add those facets to our football in a meaningful way, not just saying, because I hear Coach Angaseve and some of his cries in terms of saying, we have someone there to deal with analytics and analyzing the game, but we can't bring him on full time. We could only utilize him for be right before a tournament or before a game, but he needs that long-term development with the team, and especially local team, where guys are not exposed to that level of training, that level of preparation before games. So it's important that sports science unit would be the unit to move our Trinidad and Tobago football into the 21st century. So that's one. Two, it's about, we're talking membership driven. We have to focus on the players. So there are two things that we need to do. We need to protect our local players in terms of ensuring that they have football as a career. Ensuring that we can keep our talented players in Trinidad as long as we can have them here before they go out to play and get a professional contract in a meaningful way. And not sending our players to 5th division where it's not even deemed professional. They're not even getting that professional passport. We have to understand those things. We have to understand that when the TTFA must ensure that we protect our young players and where they go. Ensuring that when a player goes on trials, we are tracking them. We're not hearing the horror stories where players are being left in foreign lands and not knowing where they're going to sleep, where they're going to have a meal, how they're coming back home. So we have to protect our local players. Guys coming into our national system and playing and hearing the issues of not being compensated in the right way. We need to treat with that. We need to sit down with the administrators, with corporate Trinidad and saying, all right, this is our national program, this is our flagship program. We need to support these guys. Because when they do well, Trinidad and Tobago, as much as it is, I have a brother, had a brother, well, he's passed deceased, very, very stingy with funds. He's not even buying much clothes. He would buy clothes now and again, he wash it, he making sure he's... Trinidad and Tobago qualified for the World Cup 2006. He bought 3 Soca Warrior jerseys. 3. I think that was the last time he bought a sporting jersey before he passed. I can't remember, I can't recall he ever bought a jersey before that. And it wasn't even an issue, is that I want to be part of this. I want to be part of this movement. When Dwight York is known throughout, Maradona is known throughout the world. The joy sports brings, and Trinidad and Trinidad and Tobago, when it comes to football, the joy that brings to Trinidad and Tobago. I think, I believe, and programs like these, I believe our Trinidad and Tobago Soca Warriors would never given their flowers their just dues. We know the issues would have happened right after. But I think Trinidad and Tobago needs to have and to remember the story of the Soca Warriors and the joy that it brought a nation and the healing it brought the nation. We're going through struggles currently, and it's my intention that Trinidad and Tobago must qualify for that 2006 World Cup. It's very important for the nation in terms of healing and bringing back that brotherhood to Trinidad and Tobago that we lost some bit. And for the youths to see something that they could strive for, to get that feeling, because when you're going through life, it's about emotions and feelings and remembering those emotions and seeing your national team doing well and bringing back 2006 and these young men understanding the joy to qualify for a World Cup and seeing your team on the big stage. I think it's important. It's that important to me in terms of protecting the players that could bring that joy to Trinidad and Tobago?
You know, as footballers, we visualize before the game what's going to happen in the game. After the game, we run through the game 500 times before we can go to bed and all that. And I know you're a baller, so you have visualized what you expect to happen and or what you don't want to happen. You know, if you all around it, you visualize everything. And so in your visualization, how you see the first day on the job or moving forward after the first day on the job?
I see the first day on the job in terms of reaching out to the stakeholders. Persons, we would have had that meeting in terms of the stakeholders on Sunday. And persons were saying, well, I was expecting this to happen when you win. I'm saying, I think we needed to have that discussion even before the election, so that persons understand that I'm going to aggressively tackle rebuilding and bringing back life to Trinidad and Tobago football, and understanding the sacrifice that I would make in my personal life, and hoping that persons understand the sacrifice administrators, fans, players understand the sacrifice they have to make as well. So the first day on the job for me is reaching out to FIFA and CONCACAF to engage and to see where the direction of and the assistance for Trinidad, because that's our main revenue stream in terms of FIFA and CONCACAF. So it's important to reach out to them to see where we are going and where we are at when it comes to the TTFA. Reaching out to stakeholders, ensuring that we have within the first 10 days that we have a sit down, reaching out to the normalization committee, because the election is the 13th, Saturday, so we're talking the day after is Sunday, so reaching out to them in terms of setting up a sit down and a one-on-one, going through what we have in the TTFA. We will have seen the normalization committee having a meeting recently and outlining some stuff, getting a proper handover in terms of the TTFA, and doing the needful to do a proper manpower audit of the TTFA in terms of putting a structure. I truly believe we need to structure the TTFA properly in terms of reporting and what the roles and functions of persons within the TTFA, because we see a lot of overlapping of the TTFA. For example, my opponent, Colin Wolf, would have mentioned that he's recusing himself from actions within the TTPFL, where he's the CEO. Persons that would have been calling for him to resign because of him being an employee of the TTFA and running for the leadership of the TTFA. But he believes that it's not an issue for him to, and he was allowed to proceed, but then making statements that he's now recusing himself, and the General Secretary of the TTFA will be taking up matters of the TTPFL, which is concerning for me. Right. Where the CEO of a league is saying that I'm hanging over the responsibilities on various issues because I don't want it to be a conflict of interest, to the General Secretary of the TTFA. When you look at that's weird to even for the CEO of a league to say, and it really boils down to the structure of the TTFA, where an employee could be putting his roles and functions on that of the General Secretary of the organization. Which, so if persons, things like that, I do understand it would be a structural issue. And persons have to understand we are not just here for the players, we are not just, but we are also here for the stakeholders. And having a well-oiled run TTFA would benefit all stakeholders. And so that's my first 24 hours, engaging persons, setting up those meetings, setting up those discussions, having a much bigger discussion in terms of stakeholders and persons having a say in terms of planning, and because maybe you have those discussions and it's one idea that transforms everything. And for me, I like to get different opinions before I make a decision. So as much opinions and views of persons I can get, it will make the job a lot more easier.
And have you thought about getting on a plane for the first time, not to fly, to go and meet FIFA and the rest of the world, and as a representative of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association?
I haven't thought about it. I would have had a meeting with CONCACAF a week ago with a senior official of CONCACAF that came to have a discussion with me. And he told me of certain dates. He's hearing the good things on the ground, and to give me the assurance that CONCACAF and FIFA would support any candidate that wins, but to ensure me that the rumors that I might be hearing that CONCACAF would not support me if I win, to put that to bed. We had a great interview. We had a great meeting. I think it went well in terms of my views. I think it aligns with what CONCACAF has as well. So it was easy. It was a very cordial meeting. So he told me that we have the FIFA Congress on the 17th of May and the CONCACAF Congress on the 25th of May. So I know that there are meetings coming up right there. But to say thought of going and who I will go with and how much persons go, I have not put any mind. My focus is Trinidad and Tobago and rebuilding Trinidad and Tobago football, ensuring that we get back to the #1 spot. He's from Jamaica, so we had that discussion about Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica and even the region as a whole, and in understanding once Trinidad and Jamaica are back to the top. Jamaica is somewhat almost there. But if both Trinidad and Jamaica could now qualify for a World Cup together, I think it would now help the region. It would pull the region a bit. So that's my thoughts. I haven't had a full thought of actually going to that FIFA Congress just yet.
Clubs. Clubs want to have a place in the heart of the football community with active members and connections to like-minded organizations and sponsors. Clubs that grow and provide opportunities are the engine rooms of football's future.
We talked about almost everything that you have to offer to Trinidad and Tobago football. And now, I know you have a manifesto out there, and anything on that stands out that you would like to let my viewers know?
Two things, again, I would want persons to understand. I've not been really speaking about the TTPFL because I think I didn't want to bring it across as I'm poking holes and I'm saying, well, I'll do this and I'll do that when it comes to the TTPFL, knowing my opponent is the current CEO. But we're coming to the end of the campaign, and persons are asking, all right, what's your views on the TTPFL? And I think it's one, to bring back the fan engagement, two, to have corporate involvement, three, to ensure that players that play within the TTPFL earn a living and can look at football in Trinidad and Tobago as a career. Ensuring that we have a professional league, ensuring that when players are sold from Trinidad and Tobago, the clubs benefit. Currently, we are amateur league. Clubs do not benefit under our amateur league system greatly. So we're doing contracts, signing players abroad and hoping that we do get a sell-on fee.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult to operate a business, and we have to understand football is a business, and clubs are operating to make a profit. Currently, clubs are doing charity. Club owners are with Civic Center. You know the struggles, and we have to get it to a business. We have to understand that if the clubs make profit, as we see in the world, the players get a larger salary. The level of demand placed on players could be greater to ensure that we have a better quality on the field. in turn ensuring that more fans come out to view the games, having a bigger gate revenue, ensuring because fans are at the venue, now corporate engagement because they have eyes on their products. You now get corporate support on board, eyes on your product, persons on the ground, persons interested in seeing it, even though they can't get to the game. You now have a TV viewership, having persons looking at the game. Your TV deal is now increased. So we have to understand it's not one thing or the other. We have to work at it holistically. We have to improve almost all aspects of that league to ensure that it's viable, it becomes self-sufficient, and understanding that we have to protect the players. We have to understand all these various elements is really to ensure that the players could look at this as their career, they could put the effort into the league, into their craft, and everything else will follow. So that's something that we have in our manifesto to support the league, to ensure that we bring back fans, to ensure we bring back corporate support. So we have a 4-year plan when it comes to the league, but we are not intending to have a league as a standalone. For too long, we have looked at Trinidad and Tobago football as you have your league, you have your national youth teams, you have your national senior teams, and everything is operating by themselves. When we go to Ministry of Sports, we're saying we have a under-17 team in training. We would like to get accommodation for them when they travel. But we knew of this under-17 tournament 2 years ago. 3 years ago, we knew of this tournament. We have the FIFA windows already now for the next 3 years. We know when the breaks are. So why are we not planning properly? We know we have youth tournaments next year. We knew we had this futsal tournament that we're going to play on the 13th, the CONCACAF futsal tournament. Last year, it was up when CONCACAF announced that they were going to have their futsal tournament. Trinidad signed on to it. When the normalization committee signed on to that agreement, immediately we should put things in place for that team. We're talking about a team is now being put together mere days before the tournament to now compete. Our first game is against the United States. We have to put proper planning in terms of our long-term planning, our medium-term planning, and our short-term planning. So we having our manifesto aspects of that when it comes to Trinidad and Tobago football, where we now say, all right, our national senior team, the flagship team, will be competing over the next 2 years in the qualification for the World Cup. This is what is required. We put together a budget for that. We know this is what is required for the TTPFL to strengthen that the national team structure, to ensure that we have a strong local team, because most of the times when we have success within our national setup is when we have a strong local team. And then the foreigners come in, and the Dwight Yorks and the Russell Latapis, and they come into the team to now lend support. So we have to understand that we have to strengthen the league, to have a local core that builds synergy. So when guys come into the team, we have an identity. So it's important that we put together that budget for the TTPFL. It's important that we have proper youth development. So currently we have a high performance center that deals with 2 teams. So it's important that we widen that pool, so that we take back the football and that high performance centers to the regions. We have 6 regions currently. Ensure that we take back that football. So I have U10, U13, U17, U20 within the regions, having proper coaching, having players. If you have guys from Toko, they're being seen in the region, in the Eastern Counties region. If a guys from Point, from Library, they are being seen in the Southern region. And we have that coach education being done. We widen the pool for coaches because they are in that structure. We assist coaches. We have the budget for that. We put together that budget for that. We understand the regional associations need support as well in terms of 1, getting a home, 2, getting administrative capacity, assistance in terms of running their league. We put together the budget for that for a 4-year period. So during the period of the new executive mandate, our executive mandate given by the membership, we put together a budget, a long-term plan for TTFA. We go to government, we go to stakeholders, we go to FIFA, because even within FIFA, there's the 3.0 funding. But they are allocated different grants for various reasons. If we sit down as administrators and stakeholders of the game, and we see that our flagship team and our youth development and our TTPFL is the most important and critical parts of Trinidad and Tobago's foundation within the next 2 years, they are allowed through the FIFA 3.0 funding for redirections of grants, redirections of funds. So if we sit together and we say, all right, this is the national plan, meet with government, meet with various ministries within the government, not just Ministry of Sports. We've been too long burdening the Ministry of Sports with all matters relating to football. And there are matters that Ministry of Health should be taking a part of. Ministry of National Security in terms of grassroots development, taking a part of. There are so much police youth clubs throughout Trinidad and Tobago taking part in football, and TTFA has not tapped into that ever. So it's important that we utilize those various ministries. There's the Ministry of Youth and National Service with Minister Foster Cummins, that's doing a lot of work in grassroots areas amongst the youth, showing them a career path in different fields. That football should be part of that. So once we create that budget and we have all the stakeholders and we have corporate Trinidad on board, we have government on board, we have FIFA and CONCACAF, we have the revenue streams of the TTFA. So we've been always going, but we have to create revenue streams as well for the TTFA through our leagues, gate receipts, through the Sports Science Center. We have to create revenue streams. So when all that is put together, then we can now plan, because we have the budget set aside to execute. And now it's about execution, and an executive should be judged on the execution. And not just going in there and today we have a team, tomorrow we don't have a team. Next week we're thinking about having. I think that's one of the major things we would have placed in our manifesto, to have a long-term planning and a strategic plan for the TTFA. So I would have mentioned a few things when we come to the zonal development with administrative capacity and having a home for the zones. So, but that's the basis of our manifesto thus far.
When it comes to, are you going to have a major turnaround on personnel, or rehire the same people there, or what is your plans, if you have any, on that issue?
I came from persons giving me knowledge from the old school, as I said. As I told you before, I love to get various opinions and views. And they say, deal with small things quickly and big things cautiously. So for me, it's going in there, and I think persons' livelihood is a very important thing for me. I'm speaking about ensuring that the players are protected. Administrators, employees must be protected as well. So for me, it's one, understanding, doing the manpower audit, doing a human resource audit, understanding what the roles and functions of persons, ensuring that we put a structure in place, making sure that persons that fall in line with that structure is there, the right persons are in the job. I am not aware of all the positions of the TTFA and their contracts, because we don't see contracts. We are not aware of persons, what their roles are within the TTFA. The membership would have asked for many persons for us, at least, even if we don't want to know their salary, but we want to know what their role and functions. What if when you did the contract, was there any KPIs within the agreement? What's happening? We weren't given that information, so now it's an opportunity for the membership to now get that information, do the needful, and then put forward. As I said before, we have to understand that sacrifices need to be made, and it's important for persons to understand that, but it's really about ensuring that Trinidad and Tobago football move forward in the right way.
Right, and I hear you talking about some of your goals, and that you're going to set, like we have to be on that next World Cup. and so on. So share with us some of that's one. Any other thing that you would like to see happen in the near future or even in the distant future?
Yeah, so it's important that we have our futsal and beach soccer team qualify for a World Cup as well. I truly believe we are right there. One of our women's youth teams within my 4-year mandate, I truly believe should qualify for a World Cup. We should get back our women's senior team being competitive in the region, being competitive in CONCACAF. That's priorities in terms of the national setup. As much as I would talk of the TTPFL and zones, you are the Trinidad and Tobago executive is judged on your national program. So your national youth teams, both men and women, your senior team, both men and women, your futsal team, your beach soccer team. So ensuring that we have those teams qualifying for World Cups as well, it's a priority. So we have placed as in terms of our first 100 days to ensure that we lay the foundation to have a beach soccer qualifier happen here within the next year, within Trinidad and Tobago. We have the capacity to have it done. We may need to upgrade some of the facilities. Once we have the qualifier, we'll be able to show capacity to have a World Cup. It's important, even if it's not within this first 4 years, that we get within this first 4 years to get the approval to have a World Cup. If it's granted and we have a World Cup in 2028, but you know the process happens now, it would be something that I think persons would say, all right, we are moving strides in terms of various aspects of Trinidad and Tobago football. Having our youth teams qualify, having our youth team qualify again within, and through the stakeholders consultation, we have heard a lot of innovative ways and ways that we would have used in the past to have those youth teams take part in tournaments in Trinidad and Tobago to build synergy and to ensure that we qualify for Youth World Cups.
You know, I want to make sure that I don't, we're getting closer to the end of the show, so I want to make sure I give you a chance to give me all the parting words that you have and all the support that you need or require to win this election to the viewers.
Yeah, so my major thing to the members, and not just the members, but stakeholders, is about exceeding expectations. It's important that as administrators, as footballers, as people, and for Trinidad and Tobago in general, we must strive to exceed expectations of what persons place on us, what persons place on our organizations, in terms of ensuring that we go the extra mile. And once we use that level or that approach to football, I think Trinidad and Tobago football would move from pillar to pillar and ensure that we move up the ladder of the ranking of the FIFA when it comes to Trinidad and Tobago football. So it's about exceeding expectations for all members. When we are successful on Saturday, persons must understand beach soccer, futsal, the zones, go out there, go work hard to exceed expectations.
All right, and don't forget where you came from. So come back and drill all the other areas that you were trying to make happen, like Central FC and all the other clubs that you've been involved in, and keep football alive on the ground, and make sure that people see you in the communities, and don't be like past presidents. You know, you sit in an office and we don't get to see you, and you don't get to come out to the games and support and all of that. I think we're looking forward to Kieron Edwards as a good president, or whoever hits that presidency spot. So I have to say, on behalf of everybody, I wish you all the best on the coming election. and let the chips fall where they may, and hopefully you come out victorious, and we see you as the next president of Trinidad and Tobago. So I also want to thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. And I'm a junkie for football, for sports. Mm-hmm. So if it's one thing you're sure you will see me at games, looking at games from youth football, U10, primary school leagues, straight up to professional football.
Okay, great, Kieron. Again, good luck going forward. I'll see you Sunday. Saturday election. Good luck with that.